Shana Tova, everybody. When I tried to write poetry after that terrible day, the words fell face down on the ground in haphazard pile of crying and fear. When I was again able to write poetry after that terrible day, it emerged diminished in tiny notes, tentative steps, on matchstick feet, ashamed it does not have words enough. A poem by Eva Murciano. Each year, as we prepare for these holidays, I think we rabbis like to believe that our words might provide some form of inspiration, that we might help people to think in new ways through the lens of Jewish wisdom. But maybe more importantly, we hope that we can create a sacred echo, giving voice to the trials and the yearnings that are living within our community's hearts and minds, finding words to capture the pain, the confusion, the struggle. For most of us rabbis, it's not that we have anything remarkably brilliant to share, but we hope that we have the capacity to reflect a reality in our words, to gently frame existential struggles with honesty, and to help our communities to have the courage to sit with complex, even scary feelings, to have the passion and the strength to shift and to move forward. And so on this Rosh Hashanah, I want to begin by simply articulating the obvious. This has been an excruciating year. October 7th crushed us in a way that many of us have struggled to put into words. The dark day shattered our reality, and what flowed from there was break after break after break. A break in our sense of security, in our belief that Israel and its incredible intelligence can help keep its citizens safe. A break in our faith that Westerners accepted and supported the existence of Israel as a Jewish democratic state. A break in our belief that anti-Semitism was, for the most part, behind us. A break in our understanding that college campuses were comfortable spaces for Jewish students, and that smart kids at fancy universities wouldn't cry out for an intifada. A break in our faith that the media and even people we know would not distort truth and reality. A break in our concept of who were our friends and who were our allies, and in our belief that our allies shared our values. A break in our conviction that we Jews get to define what is essential to us as the Jewish people, and that we get to define what it means to be a Zionist, and that the non-Jewish world does not get to shape our narrative. And for those of us who were already angry at Netanyahu and his government before October 7th, a break in our ability to love Israel and to criticize Israel without feeling insecure and judged. Break after break after break has threatened to flatten us, to leave us speechless, to leave us paralyzed. And if we are very honest, many of us have felt all sorts of contradictory and even shocking emotions during these months of breaking. We have doubted ideals that we have known to be true. We have had thoughts and even said things that are scary and inconsistent with our worldview. We have woken up feeling one way and gone to bed feeling another. At times, we may have even been hesitant to speak from the heart. Some of us have been frightened to openly speak in loving, proud support of Israel. And some of us have struggled to express honest censor and real exasperation for Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government. Even when we have had meaningful, important ideas to add to a conversation, we have hesitated because of how our words might be understood or interpreted by various audiences. Our hearts have ached for the hostages and their families, feeling indignant that they are not yet home. We have confronted the reality of true evil in our world, a monstrous death cult that has somehow been elevated to the status of freedom fighters, even as they vow to continue to massacre our people. We face reoccurring nightmares of Jews huddled, terrified in safe rooms, pursued like prey after dancing in the desert, raped, mutilated, and laid bare before a captor's cruel lens. This is a reality that those of us who much prefer, who have made a life of focusing on peace, have had to face head on, leading us to be overcome by rage, overcome by heartbreak, and haunted by grief and trauma. We have held our breath as bombs have been hurled at Israel daily from all directions. We've sent frantic WhatsApp messages in the middle of the night to check in on loved ones as they have slept in safe rooms, missiles exploding in the sky above. Yet through all of this, even as many of us have felt more anchored in what it means to feel a particularism for our Jewish identities and a need for Jewish safety and security, even as we have felt more connected to particularism, we have also navigated the realities of what it means to universally care for and universally worry about innocent human beings. We have watched an escalation of Jewish extremist settler violence toward Palestinians in the West Bank, bringing us deep shame. We have been horrified by Hamas and Hezbollah's use of civilians as human shields and Hamas's stealing of aid. We have refused to ignore the real humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the terrifying reality of this war, and its devastating impact on innocents on the other side of the border. We have refused to stop believing at our core that we will move past this. We will move to a better time, grasping onto hope that things can truly be different, that the future does not have to look like the world feels right now. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, but it's not the celebration of the first day of creation. Rather, the Midrash teaches us that Rosh Hashanah is a celebration of the sixth day of creation, the day when humanity came into being. Today, we celebrate the human potential to bring goodness and creativity into the universe, especially when there is darkness. The creation story is a reminder to us that it is precisely when there was darkness that light was born. The Torah reads, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ve'et haaretz hayta tohu vavohu, v'hoshech al pnei tehom. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and there was chaos. Tohu vavohu. There was chaos and there was hoshech. There was darkness on the face of the deep. And what did God do? What does Torah tell us that God did? The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. In the midst of the overwhelming darkness, Vayomer Elohim yihi or v'yihi or. And God said, in the midst of the darkness, let there be light. And there was light. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov. And God looked at that light, and God said, this is good. My friends, my beloved Rodef community, it has been a year of tohu vavohu. It has been a year of hoshech, a dark, dark year filled with overwhelming chaos, deep confusion and struggle, inner and outer conflict. In the Torah, when there is chaos, when there is darkness, that is precisely when God manifested light. We are reminded on this Rosh Hashanah, the anniversary of our creation as human beings, that when the world feels overwhelmed with darkness, we are called upon to be like God and to bring the light. We are called upon to ignite hope. The word for hope in Hebrew is tikvah. Tikvah comes from the word kav, which means a line or a cord. The line that takes us from one space to another, that enables us to look beyond the here and now and see the horizon. Hope is not rooted in statistics or New York Times articles or Pollyannish remarks from a rabbi. Hope is what has kept our people alive through trial after trial, through massacre after massacre. To have hope, we need that line, connecting us to one another, reminding us that we are not alone. It's a line that doesn't separate us from reality, but instead elevates our reality. A line that connects our struggle to the hopeful horizon of light. Hope is not easy. Like now, it's not easy to just hold onto that line, to feel hope and to envision that horizon. But it's in our most ragged times, our most awful times, that hope emerges. When I was studying at Hartman this past summer, I learned texts with Rabbi Tamar Elad Applebaum that transported me back to the Beit HaMikdash. When people would arrive at this holy temple for festivals, they would ascend up a central staircase. The Mishnah in Masechet Sukkot describes the scene on these steps. We can imagine it. People would dance, they would hold torches, they would sing songs, the Levi'im, the Levites, they would play all sorts of musical instruments. And as they did this, they would sing the 15 Psalms of Ascent right on those 15 central steps. Each of those 15 steps was shaped like a semicircle and built to correspond to one of these Psalms of Ascent. Psalms that take us from a place of darkness, crying out to God in grief and disbelief, needing help in Psalm 120, the first of the Psalms of Ascent, to a position of joy, a position of exaltation, celebration, and community in Psalm 133, which says, Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How lovely and good it is for brothers and sisters to sit together. So this was a profoundly important staircase. But here is what is most interesting. This staircase was built in the very same space where Adam and Eve were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. That's what the Midrash tells us. The abyss, the loss of idyllic life that happened when they were thrown out of Eden, happened right in this very spot. Rabbi Tamar teaches that during the days of King David, it was also in this spot that the earth opened and almost swallowed the entire world, practically destroying all of existence. Our texts teach that it was in this very moment of imminent destruction that King David first uttered those 15 Psalms of Ascent. And as the words came out of his mouth, the earth quieted. This spot is where King David wrote those psalms, songs of renewal, songs of hope that helped to save the world from destruction. This place of fear and trauma became the very space where the central staircase were consciously built in the Beit HaMikdash, leading the people up to the plaza, to the Holy of Holies, and to all of the goodness and the glory that was the temple. Out of an abyss, out of extreme darkness, hope and light were created. It is not an overstatement to say that it feels like we have been on the edge of an abyss since October 7th. But as we learn from our creation story, and as we learn from those 15 steps, we are a people who have inherited a tradition of igniting light in the darkest of spaces, of building possibility and hope in the exact spot of destruction. This is our inheritance as Jews. And this is what we have been doing over these last months, and this is exactly what we are going to continue to do today and in this next year. We feel the abyss. We see the abyss, but we will not fall into the abyss. We will carry hope. I am so deeply grateful for the moments that have given me hope this past year. Here are just a few. When a Catholic friend from college, who's married to a man who grew up Muslim in Iran, reached out regularly to me over this past year, offering support, offering love, I felt hope. When my friend Christina, one of my oldest and dearest friends from childhood, told her son, who is a freshman at MIT, that he needed to find the courage within him to speak up against anti-Semitism on campus, I felt hope. When I was in Israel this past summer, I sat with two members of the Parent Circle, a group of Israelis and Palestinians who have lost loved ones to this conflict and refuse to be enemies. I heard a young Palestinian man named Arab tell us that a few years before, he went out of his comfort zone and accepted an invitation from a friend to attend a meeting. He was nervous. He didn't think he had anything to say to Jews, to the people who had killed his brother. But he went anyway. And as he listened and as he shared, a window of empathy slid open and he saw our humanity. He began to regularly engage in dialogue with Israelis. He then went to Auschwitz and he learned Jewish history, and he came to fully understand the Jewish need and right to a homeland within Israel, even as he believes that his people have a need and a right to a homeland within the West Bank. When I heard an Israeli Jewish woman who could have been his mother, whose son had been killed by a Palestinian terrorist, refer to Arab as Motek, as sweetheart, and speak to him with such love and affection. When I heard both of their commitments against all odds to peace, to coexistence, to relationship building, to dignity for all people, the 7.5 million Jews and the 7 million Arabs who live between the river and the sea, I felt hope. When I sat at my friend Roy and Ariela's Shabbat table in Tel Aviv, and their 10-year-old daughter told me that at the end of last year, her teachers gave her an award for the student who valued human life. She said that many of her friends got awards that could have gone to anybody. Good student in English, good student in math. She was so proud. She was like, I got this award because it defines me, the student who valued human life. And then she emphatically added, we kids are the future. We are the future. And we believe there can be peace. We are the ones who will make it happen. When this bright 10-year-old who has spent nights sleeping in bomb shelters declared this, I felt hope. Gathering with you, singing with you, dancing with you, kids filling this shul on Shabbat, seeing how our community has triumphed with thriving Judaism in the face of this darkness. The fact that folks have come together in this space that do not always agree with each other, often don't agree with each other, but that somehow we have found a way to be one holy community despite our differences, that has given me a regular shot of hope. As I pondered this question for myself, I asked some of you, what is it that has helped you through the darkness? What is it that has given you hope during this past really, really hard year? And this is what you said. One member of our community reflected, when I was in Israel, I heard over and over and over again people saying they just didn't know if Israel was going to make it. But every person I heard from who said that was doing something to help Israel make it. They were running hospitals, providing mental health support to evacuees, providing help to returning soldiers, cooking food, picking citrus, protesting, rallying, telling their personal narrative and their national story. That gave me hope. Another community member said, I found hope while sitting next to my daughter in the middle of the night on Shavuot. hearing about the experiences of people in our community who converted to Judaism, people who had chosen to be Jewish, who said, even in the face of so much anti-Semitism, I want to be part of this people. That gave me hope. Another said, I found hope in children of all ages, young children because they are innocent and they find joy all around them, and older children like teens and even young adults because they see possibilities where we cannot. People here at Rodef told me that they have found hope in this very community, in the authenticity of poetry and music to capture what is and what can be, in raising a generation of Jewish children who come to shul, who do Jewish things with Jewish joy, kids who understand that Judaism has profound meaning and value and that it is synonymous with a desire for peace. And as siblings return to Judaism and love for Israel after so many years of not being present. In celebrating a family wedding and knowing that young Jews are still planning for a future. In hearing the stories of our people's resilience in years past and knowing that we will make it through this time too. In bagels and lox. So when that last one came over my phone, I smiled a bit. I kind of laughed. Bagels and lox? Really? But yes, bagels and lox. Jewish food that has time and time again brought us together at bris celebrations and shivas, the food that helps us and gathers us as we are together, nourishing our bodies, as the conversation and the hugs and the tears and the laughter and the presence of our loved ones nourish our souls. I wish I could end this talk by simply saying it's going to get better. While I firmly believe with all of my heart that it will get better in the long term, that light will overtake the darkness, I'm not sure that it's going to get better in the short term. But here is what I do know. I know that we have a vibrant, growing, animated Jewish community, and that kav, that line that we are holding, is helping us to envision a future, a horizon that is filled with much better days. I know that through our commitment to engaging in activities that renew our hope, we will all make a difference. These include building our remarkable, spirited Jewish community and being a part of its flourishing, making rich, meaningful interfaith connections, telling our authentic story, and listening with open hearts to the authentic story of others. Investing in joyful Jewish education for our children, our grandchildren, and the next generation of Jews. Caring about one another and actualizing that love in concrete ways. Dancing at Jewish celebrations. Dancing, fully dancing, which we will do later on in Musaf. Dancing at Jewish celebrations, especially in the darkness. I know that through these hopeful acts, we will make sure that not one of us falls into the abyss. Yes, there really is darkness, but we are a people who carries light, and together, all of us will harness the hope that is our Jewish inheritance. Shana Tova.